Welcome to episode number 2 of
Yes.
Cynic Meets Sunshine. I'm
Yay.
Andre. This is my beautiful wife, Tanisha.
Hey.
And we're back. We made it.
Number 2.
Yeah, number 2. It's a little different. You
Yeah.
might notice. Why?
Yeah, it looks a little different. We did our first recording in a studio that we rented that was awesome while we were
Yes.
getting set up here at home and just, getting our mics and camera and things in place. So bear with us as we're like figuring this all out. This is brand new to us.
Yes.
But we're excited to set up the studio here at home and be able to just come have a conversation on the couch. And, we've got a big family, so break away for a minute and we can just come in here and do our podcast.
The plan was always to have a home studio
Yeah.
and do this. That was just a way to give us a little while to set up and get ready and for me to brush off some skills.
Editing.
And it's been a minute since I've done all that. So
Yeah,
good.
we're ready. We have like no major growing pains yet. And
yeah, not yet.
you guys have been patient with us as we like figure it out, audio and all this different stuff. So we're trying to make sure it comes through nice and clear so it's easy to listen to.
Yes. So what did we talk about last week?
Well, we introduced ourselves.
Yeah, it was our introduction.
Yeah.
We did introduction and we talked about our top 3 ingredients needed to divorce-proof your marriage. Hopefully that was useful to you guys.
Yeah. So today we are going to talk about conflict and connection and how to fight fair.
And come out stronger.
For sure. I mean, every relationship is going to have conflict. So we feel like it's a really great topic to dive in on.
Yes. Communication, conflict resolution, those are some pillars, right?
I mean,
you
huge.
Get through those,
yeah, if you can't
anything.
get those down, how will your relationship flourish or grow? It's like you've got to be able to communicate with one another and you need to be able to fight fair and you need to stay connected because conflict can really break people down, drive a wedge between you.
Yes.
And, have you building walls. So we want to help and give tools for you to fight fair and to come together and have a resolution.
Yep. Speaking of tools, stay tuned because later in the episode, we're going to be giving you some practical tools and tips that you can use in your next knockdown, drag out fight, which hopefully there isn't any, but if you have them, you should use these practical tools. We've been using them and they've definitely helped.
Yeah, I agree.
So how are you doing? Tanisha she's getting ready to do her pro debut, IFBB Professional League. She is going to do her pro debut at the Samson Showdown, March 29th in Las Vegas, Nevada. We are excited. She is 5 weeks out. How you feeling?
Yeah,
babe?
this weekend, 5 weeks out. I feel pretty good. Like overall energy is good. Mood is good. I mean, I need to go do cardio after this.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm counting my meals because I'm definitely like, on the hungrier side. But I'm excited. It's definitely worth it. And seeing the changes is making me excited. And
yes, you're
honestly,
making a lot of changes real quick. Some might even think too quick, actually. What did you drop in just this month?
8 pounds.
8 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Very fast. This month was kind of drastic, but it was like going from super high calories, very low cardio to like really kicking it into gear. And my body just is responding really well. So we're doing actually several cheat meals already.
Yeah, I know. Tell me
Refeeds.
Must be nice.
But I'm excited. I can't wait. Like this will be such a fun experience. This will be my first time going on stage as an IFBB pro.
Yes.
And I feel
I'm excited.
Really excited about it.
I'm excited. Las
I get
Vegas
to
is going
join
to be
my
fun.
man in the league.
Yeah, Las Vegas is going to be fun. It's going to be, should be good. 5 more weeks. So you guys stay tuned. We'll be giving updates on her progress and show day. Maybe we'll do something live, not live. We'll do something on location from Nevada in Vegas. Not live, though. Refuse to do live. No editing involved.
What about you, though, babe?
GI issues had me sidelined for a little bit, so we'll probably plan something for the summer. Yeah, there's a lot of shows for Classic Physique in the tail end of the season. So
maybe we can get one in together.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Roland wants us to do that. Shout out to Muscle Factory, by the way.
Definitely.
Yeah, great gym. Great place. To begin, I thought it would be a good idea if we went through the different ways that we fought then versus how we fight now.
So, like in the beginning of our relationship when we were
Yeah.
younger, how we dealt with
Those
conflict.
fun conflicts. Yeah.
And then now being together a lot
Yes.
longer, being older, wiser,
And
more
having learned a few
mature.
things. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
How would you describe our fights early on, first couple years of marriage? And
We were pretty intense, like intensely in love.
yeah.
All the emotions were on high,
Yeah.
on 10.
We loved hard and fought hard. Is that what you're
Yeah. And
saying?
I mean, I don't even know if I would say we fought hard. We just fought kind of out of control. It was
Yeah.
like all over the place.
Yeah.
And, you know, we both come from different backgrounds with different needs and different love languages.
Okay. For sure.
And so I think that greatly affected our miscommunication and our arguing style because I just was not like, oh, that's my cardio
Cardio. You
alarm.
better get to your cardio. Cardio alarm's going off at 6 o'clock.
With you, you needed space. Okay.
Yeah.
So we would argue, and you maybe needed a cooling down period
Yeah.
before we continued the argument.
Oh,
You
yeah.
would get really
Yes.
heated and you would need a minute. When we were young, I didn't really understand that you needed that minute, and I didn't understand why. I wanted to resolve the conflict right away
Gosh.
because it was like dire to me. I know. It was, but to me, if you understood like my perspective and what was going on in my mind, I needed a quick resolve because of those deep seated issues that I had within me that made me very uncomfortable having conflict or stress between us or any kind of wedge. It made me feel very uncomfortable and on shaky ground.
Like, what did we fight about? And I don't remember what it was, but I do know that it was caused by stress.
Yeah.
So looking at some of the reasons people fight, there was 4 categories, but one of the main category were biological and neurological responses, right? Under that was stress and cortisol. I was deployed a lot. So there was a lot of stress. It was a stressful time for us. So that can lead to arguments and
Bickering.
conflicts and bickering.
Yeah.
We didn't
Money.
fight
I
about.
mean, we were
Yeah,
young. We were
didn't have a
teenagers.
lot
We
of
didn't have
money.
any money. We were
Yeah.
like
Lance
paycheck to
corporal and a
paycheck.
sergeant's
Yeah.
pay. Not a lot of money, but
Yeah.
we didn't really fight over money issues.
No.
We didn't have a lot.
But it was a stressor.
Yeah, it was a lot of stress. It was a lot
Mhm.
of stress. Um,
I will say our fighting style back then was you would really withdraw.
Yeah.
You would not talk and you would shut down
I would ignore you.
for long periods of time.
Yeah.
For me, I would get super emotional, like just go off,
Mhm.
and it was just all over the place, out of control, saying things and just yelling, crying, all of that stuff, instead of just being calm and conveying our thoughts. So that's where we were,
Yes.
right? Out of
Yes.
control,
Yeah.
no
Young
resolve,
sounds immature. but
immature.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And somehow we were able to work through, even with that poor communication
Yeah.
and even with the crazy fighting style, we would make up, come back together, repair. But as time goes on, that kind of can wear on a relationship. So you really have to be working and improving. So, what do you think we did to change it, to
Yeah.
improve,
I
and
th-
make sure that we got better?
I think there was a lot of self-awareness. It's taken a long time to get to that point, but I think one of the things is we learned better communication skills, a lot of therapy, and we understood in our upbringings what role that played in how we acted,
Mm.
how we handle conflicts. So, um,
That really required us taking a look at ourselves.
yes,
And I think that is such an important step to fighting fair, to communicating, to everything, is understanding why I act the way I
yeah,
do. Why do I feel the way I do?
yes,
So self reflection and looking in and really
a lot of
seeing where it
self-reflection.
stems from
Yes,
was important for us, and it was huge.
yeah. To give you guys some background on our upbringing, Tanisha was emancipated at 15.
Yeah. So I was emancipated at 15 years old. I became a legal adult because my mom was addicted to drugs. She,
Crackhead,
yeah, she was addicted to
crackhead.
drugs from a very young age, and it was like super sensitive for me. I, wanted to always try and be patient and fix that relationship, and unfortunately, she just was never there for me.
Yeah,
She was like in and out of prison. The only secure relationship I had was my grandparents.
yes,
the only semi normal relationship I had and only real constant in my life was my grandparents. And they were my only example of normalcy.
What about your father?
My dad, never present at all, in and out of prison, always. So I was really on my own a lot. My mom would go on like these bingers and be gone for days. No one to take me to school, you know, no one to like get me food, things
Yeah.
like that. I'd just literally be home alone. So
Is that why you got emancipated?
at a certain point, I was like, okay, I have to get a job.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why I had, and to this day I can be like this. I had trouble like asking people for help, and I didn't want anyone to feel sorry for me. That really bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want anybody to feel for me and help me. Like I'm fine.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. Like I can be
I'm
okay.
fine. I'm 15-year-old. I
Yeah,
can take care of myself.
I can do this. Like I'll be okay. I'll just be a big girl. And so I don't even know how I did this. Like
Yeah.
I literally filed the paperwork,
I'm like,
everything
someone
on
had to have
my
helped you.
own.
There was
Well,
no
at the-
internet, so there was no
there was no
Google,
internet.
So,
But I do remember getting like help at the court office and stuff. People were helpful.
yes, okay.
And
And the
I
judge
filed this.
just
I went to court by myself, no attorney.
yes,
Okay. And I got emancipated and I became a legal adult. And I did this because I needed to work.
Yeah.
I needed to make money. I
Yeah.
needed to take care of me, get an
Yes.
apartment, you know.
Did she show up?
She was in and out of my life for a long time.
No, to court.
My mom didn't even show up.
Yeah.
It was like non-contested.
Wow. Knowing that kind of helps you understand why you had those abandonment issues.
Definitely.
And anytime we're fighting, and I might need some space, you are right there because you are probably thinking, what, like, here's yet another person
I'm
that
just
I
thinking,
should be able to
okay,
count
well,
on that's
this
going to
isn't
leave.
going to last. Like, okay, well, he's going to leave. So then I start kicking into that self-preservation mode. Like, okay, well, I'm going to have to take care of me. And I start thinking it's like the end.
Yeah. And I'm
Instead
like,
of thinking
"Can't
there's
we
a
just fight?"
solution, like these fights felt like, well, this is probably the end.
Yeah.
You know, and then I go into these defensive modes because I have to protect myself.
Yeah.
It's just a very unhealthy cycle because those abandonment issues were so deep and I couldn't even see them at that time. It
Yeah.
really took self-reflection, and once I was able to identify that, that was a game
Yeah.
changer.
If you can identify it, it helps you understand who you are and why you're doing things that you're doing.
And
So,
it can stop you from continuing to do it.
yes, yeah, continue to do it. So, I can talk about my upbringing. I had two parents, but it was a very strict household. I'll say strict. Probably the majority of the Black community, a lot of our households were strict households. But I learned watching both of my parents. Their arguments were usually one person dominating, one person with all the power, determining how things went. So I kind of mimicked that. A lot of ignoring. There was days, if you were arguing and they were mad, there were days that went by where they didn't talk to each other. So I saw that, and that's what I kind of mimicked. When I became 15, 20 years later, I'm in a relationship, and that's what I'm doing, just because I guess it was what I saw, is what I knew. And then I don't want my kids to do that. So you got to break that cycle.
That's something I'm actually really proud of us because we did the work there.
Yeah.
And we did look inside at what is causing us to act this way when we're in arguments. Why are these our responses?
Our defaults.
And I feel like we are really great about talking to the kids about that and being
Yes.
transparent with them when we mess up, when we
Yes.
make mistakes, because we want to acknowledge those things and we don't want to repeat those cycles.
I don't want to see that for them. I want to see them have healthy relationships from the beginning, not struggle for 10 years and then.
Exactly. And I
Try and
mean, I
fix it.
made it like my life business to not repeat
You did.
cycles or be
I'm
like
proud
my
of you
mom.
because I did some of the same things that I saw and didn't like when I was young, but those I came to be that person. And you, on the other hand, you had a mother that was never there, abandoned you, but you didn't do that. You were a great mother. So I am very proud of you. Thank you.
I think it's really important, like I said, that we did that work and we looked inside, because I think that has been a major turning point for us, talking to each other better, understanding each other more, and being able to reconnect after conflict and be closer. Because now that you understand your behavior,
Yeah.
you check yourself.
Now that I understand
mine.
Now that I understand your behavior, I understand when my default is to ignore you for 2 days. Your default is to think to go back to abandonment, and what you need for that, to combat that, is for me to say, hey, I'm angry right now, but I'm not going anywhere. We're going to be okay. We'll get through this. I just need some time.
That you like is hit the nail on the head, because I think I told you this the other day. Like, we were having an argument, and there was one time you said that, and it literally, that stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been so important to me, because it helped me realize, like, our arguments aren't the end of the
Yeah.
world.
It's
He's
arguments.
not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. We're here to do the work. We love each other. Arguments are going to happen. We're
Mm-hmm.
going to work it through. But because of my abandonment issues, that was an affirmation that I needed in order for me to calm my mind, calm my spirit, and be able to just have a normal
Yeah.
argument.
And for me, that what people now call emotional abuse, you realize, well, that kind of probably was emotional abuse that I
Right.
grew up in.
Yeah. That
And
you
it's
thought was
that
normal.
I thought was normal.
Yeah. And mimic it
I mean, I still
because
have a iron mark on my arm to this
you
day
sure do.
because popping off at the mouth when mom was when I was a teenager and she was ironing, I got a little too close and
Just thought,
what'd
and
you
you
say?
thought that
Yeah,
was like a
I
normal
just thought that was
punishment.
a normal.
Yeah, no, you're not supposed to get burnt with an iron for talking back.
um, yeah. So
Yeah,
self reflection,
for sure.
therapy.
So
Um,
therapy for us
yes.
looked a little different than maybe for some people. For
Yeah.
us, we use like a lot of apps.
Yeah. There's some great
Um,
apps out there.
mhm.
The Paired app is an app we use
That was
for
so fun.
communication for a good at least a year.
Yes,
Uh,
check out the Paired app,
yeah,
y'all.
that was good.
That one's a lot of fun as a couple, just to encourage like daily conversations.
Communication.
Yeah, and kind of a good way to let your partner know maybe some needs you have,
Yeah.
or just
We
things you don't
we used
typically
it.
bring up.
We used it after 20 years of marriage, but I
Mhm.
think it would be awesome for newly married couples. And then there's the Regain app, counseling app for couples, and Better Help for individuals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of good ones out there, and that was kind of our form um, of therapy, I
Yeah.
guess I'll say.
Yeah.
Just and self help books and
Getting
reading and
yeah,
learning
getting
and
help is not a bad thing. I think in the Marine Corps, I remember that was a bad word, like to go see counseling, a
right.
marriage counselor. That was, you don't do that,
Yeah,
because things would, come to light and you'd
yeah.
get in trouble. But
Keep your business private and
I think getting counseling, getting professional help is kind of like when you take your car in for 60,000 mile checkup or 100,000 mile checkup. You don't
yeah.
have to go get help just because things are broke. If we're going on a long road trip, you can take your car in, hey, and give it a once over,
I think
attention
that's
to it.
great advice, actually. So even if you're not like in a spot right now where
Yeah,
it's like it's do or die, we need counseling. Maybe you're in just a good
yeah.
spot or just a normal
Go get a
spot.
checkup.
Even in good times, you want to prompt new conversations and stay involved in each other's lives, stay excited about talking and
Yeah.
bringing up new topics. And I think it's really good.
Anything else you got to say
No, I
about
think
how we fought then versus
yeah.
how
I
we fight
think that
now?
gives everyone a little insight into why we fought the way we did. We
Okay.
realized that we had past trauma
Yeah.
and we had past hurts,
Mm-hmm.
and we were bringing them into our relationship
Yes.
and letting it affect us in a negative way.
Yes.
If you are getting into an argument with your spouse
Yeah.
right now,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe you have something you really want to communicate to them, but it always ends up in an argument, a blow up.
Yes.
What are some practical tools that we can use so that we can communicate better?
Perfect segue. Very good. Did you read the notes? Did you look at the outline?
I always read your
I
notes.
love it when you look at the outline. All right. So earlier in the episode, we talked about giving you some practical tools for fighting fair and coming out stronger. Let's go over those.
Okay.
Number one, start with curiosity, not assumptions. I'm going to say it
Amen.
again.
Amen.
Start with curiosity, not assumptions.
Really let that soak in,
Yes.
because sometimes your partner will come out the mouth
Mm-hmm.
with whatever they feel is a good time, and they're bringing it to you. This is
Mm-hmm.
like, maybe it's a gripe, maybe it's whatever they need to
Be
talk
whatever.
about,
Yeah.
and you hear it. It's not even off their tongue all the way
Mm-hmm.
yet, and you're ready to pop back,
Yeah.
or you're ready with body language, like, or
Yeah.
the deep sigh.
Yes.
But just try to resist that and have a little switch in your brain. This is a practical tool.
Mm-hmm.
Curiosity.
Okay.
What is it that
What
my
are you curious
partner
about?
needs right now? I'm curious.
Okay.
What do you need? I want to hear you.
Okay.
If you can make that little switch, tool number one
Okay.
to already being received
It
better.
takes you away from being defensive. You're
That's
not
right.
being defensive. You're being, I'm on the same team. We have the same jersey. Let me try and understand what is it that you're bringing to me right now?
Right.
What are we talking about? Instead of what are we talking about?
Yeah.
What do
Or
you need?
defending and hearing it as like they're attacking you.
Yeah.
It's not always a personal attack, because at the end of the day, whatever their issue is or your issue is, the end goal should be to find a resolve together.
Yes. Yes. All right. So that was number one.
Number
Start with
one,
curiosity,
curiosity.
not assumptions. Number two is also a big one. It's pause and breathe before responding. Love, love, love this one. So this is maybe taking time outs. We used to have early in our marriage, I don't know where we got this from, but we had the hug it out rule. We would get into arguments, which we probably did quite often. And we had a rule that we would stop and just hug.
For
We
30 seconds.
Yeah, you say 30. I
No,
thought it was 10.
I
It was
remember it was
10.
30 seconds, because the first few seconds I would just be annoyed.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden you kind of melt into it, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, this does
So-
kind of soften
so
you up.
Pause and breathe before responding. Ours,
Yes.
you can take this. Please use this one because it was very helpful for us. We don't do it that much.
The
very
hug it out
often, yeah.
anymore.
Hug it out. So 30 seconds. I say it's 10. Tanisha says 30.
10
30
is
sec-
like nothing.
30 probably is better.
Yeah.
So hug it out for 30 seconds. No half-ass hugging. Literal, both hands hugging, body contact, and no talking. You're totally quiet, and let your mind just stop. Just hug it out and just feel your person.
I think that's excellent advice. There's some people who that's going to be a whole other thing that they need therapy for, because they don't want to be touched right then
Yeah.
or whatever. So
It's a rule.
if that doesn't work for you, at the very least, use the tool to pause.
Yes.
Take a
No, hug it out.
pause.
Hug it out.
Ethan's
But
hug for sure.
pause for good. And here's the reason. Here's the science behind
touch.
when you're doing that. Not just touch. That's a whole different, but that's also scientific too. But there are parts of the brain that deal with feelings and fear and emotion. Those are involuntary, okay?
Okay.
And then there's parts of the brain in the frontal lobe that deals with critical thinking that's voluntary. You have to think. I have to tap into that. So by pausing, you're not using your amygdala. You're giving your critical thinking time to engage, so you can say, okay, was this really important? Is this going to be important in 5 days and in 5 weeks, in 5 years? It's not.
So you mean it's like disarming you.
It's
instead
disarming
of
you.
allowing a immediate defensive response.
Yes.
It's allowing you to disarm
Yes.
and to think logically.
Yes.
And respond.
To not let your
calmly.
involuntary reflexes get engaged, but to think about it critically. Yeah. So that's a good one. Pause and breathe before responding.
Pause and breathe. I love that. I think that is a really big one for you and I, because we said in the last episode, we're big on interrupting and talking over
Yes.
just as a whole in
Yeah.
our family.
Yeah.
So pausing and, waiting to respond. I think that's huge.
Okay. Number 3 is use I statements instead of you, or you always, you never. How about I feel, or I felt angry when you did this, or that will help disarm the defensiveness, and then you can get into a resolution.
I agree. Instead of saying like, you never hang out with me and we don't get time together and I want
like,
quality
just
time.
took her out Friday.
Then what I could say is, I feel like we're not getting enough quality time
Enough.
together, and I'm feeling sad about that, and I would really like if you would spend some more time with me, and we can find a solution. And that lets your partner know, like, oh, I might think we're spending enough time, but she feels a little hurt, or like we're not. So let's work on it.
Okay. Well, that was good. Number 4, seek shared solution. This goes to what we talked about in episode 1, team mindset.
Right.
If we are truly a team, if we are one, then there should be a resolution that works for the both of us. It's not always going to be something that I'm fine with and you're always giving in. So it should be seek a shared solution.
I agree. I definitely think that we were lacking that in the early years, because it was like,
I got my way
one
all the
person,
time.
one person would get their way the majority of the time. I think that can create some resentment.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not sustainable at all.
That's not.
You're gonna eventually you're going to look up like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's going on
Gotta
here?
always, yeah. I think seeking shared resolutions is an amazing tool. And also this opens your mind up to your partner's needs because maybe you're being selfish.
Yes.
You know,
Hmm.
sometimes we can get that way in a
Oh, yeah.
relationship
You and I
and
have both been selfish.
there's times we need to stop and be like, this is not just about me. Like you
Yeah.
said, team mindset. This is a partnership and your needs are important to me. Your needs
Mhm.
are as important as my needs. And it is very important that those are met as well as it is very important that my needs are met. And so seeking those shared resolutions shows that we're committed to each other
Yes.
and that we care about each other's feelings. People need to know that you don't just care about your
Yeah.
feelings and a resolve for you and how you feel.
All right. Number 5, end with appreciation or reaffirmation.
Love
Whose
it.
is this? This one's yours.
Love
This
it.
one's yours. Uh, Thinking abandonment issues.
Yeah.
If after a fight or during a fight, I'm reaffirming that we're good. We're just.
This was a hard day.
This is a hard day.
I love
I
you.
love you.
And tomorrow's going to be better.
Yeah.
You know, I
Or
think those things are important. It reminds people, like, okay, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And that also comes back to conflict and connection.
Mhm.
That creates connection.
Yeah.
When
for
you
sure.
tell me, like, hey, I'm really upset about today,
Mhm.
it was hard to get through this argument. You know, I'm feeling a way about this, but I love you. We're going to take the steps to work through this or
Yeah,
whatever.
that is a connection.
That creates that connection
for sure.
again. Because when you leave off storming out of the room, not dealing with something, acting a fool, raising your voice and screaming at the top of your lungs, all of these things create that wedge.
Yeah.
And these
Disconnect.
create distance.
Yes.
Then you don't want to touch the person. You don't want to look at the person. You want space from the person. So if you can end that conflict, like he said, with a reaffirmation, then you really are doing the work towards staying
Yeah.
connected.
I want to state that all of these are work. They're practical tools, but this is work. This is hard work.
It's not
It's hard work.
easy.
It's
And
not easy.
honestly, you know, even at the stage of our marriage that we're at, this is something that we are still working
Yeah.
these steps. And I
I
will
don't always
tell
feel like
you,
doing all
yeah,
these things.
it's marriage and relationships are work, but I will tell you
Yes.
it's worth every bit of it because you know there'll be these hard days, but there's so many good days and so many good things if you can learn
Yeah.
to communicate well, it'll make everything much smoother.
Okay. We gave
Mhm.
5 practical tools for fighting fear and coming out stronger. But for those nerds that want extra credit, we have 2 more. 6, finding the right time and place
Ooh.
for hard
Time
conversations.
and place.
I think this one's yours.
That okay.
This
I will
one's yours.
say I am one of those people who I just have to spill and tell you like what's on my mind. It's hard for me to like hold it for an hour a day or whatever. So sometimes I am definitely guilty of starting a conversation at the wrong time
Yeah.
and not vibing out like
It can
maybe
be hard if it's the end of the night and I have something I want to tell you that may be seen as a gripe
Mhm.
or a complaint, and it might not be the right time because you had a horrible day and you just want to go to sleep. And I'm like, it's really nagging at me that I want to talk about this, but I'm gonna hold on to it because it is not the right time. I will go to sleep with that. I don't know that you always can do that.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. I struggle there. So that's something I could definitely work on is the right time and right place. However, I will say, and I guarantee a lot of people can identify with me on this, is like when you have a busy life
Hmm.
and it's like we go to the gym,
Yeah.
okay? You go to work, I'm working, kids are at school, kids are home,
Hmm.
they're running circles around us.
There's not a lot
I
of
don't
time.
get a lot of time to just have like those quiet talks with you because I can't have clearly I can't have that conversation while the kids are
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
So it's like here we are. It's the end of the night. Probably not the best time,
But it's some
but
of the
it's the only
yeah.
alone
Yeah.
time.
No, I
So
get it. I
that
get
can
it.
be kind of difficult. So how do you suggest if it's like the end of the night, you're about to get into bed and you really want to have a good, nice evening with your person, but you have some things you want to discuss?
Are you talking about like when you want to have sex with me and you wait to have and you wait to have a and
Conversation
I'm
to
like you
right
couldn't know
before.
well I don't feel like doing anything now. You should have just waited until after and then you could have
That's not
you messed it up.
I mean,
That's
yeah,
not what you meant?
that too.
Oh.
But what I'm saying is what is your suggestion to somebody who like is trying to find the right time
Yeah.
to have these conversations, but
Okay.
they are really busy like that? Kids are always around, person's always at
They
work.
could schedule it. I don't know. Sounds pretty corporate, but they could say, "Hey, I need to have a conversation with you."
When would be a good time? Like,
That's
just
yeah.
ask.
When would be a good time?
If you're like me, that
That
creates
yeah.
anticipation. I'm like,
That's
just tell me.
yeah. That's
Just
not
tell me
gonna
like
work either.
what is going on.
Nope. I'm gonna stop everything.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. But there's that.
So how do you suggest for you then? If I have something that I want to discuss with you, and because I'm the way
That
I
could
am,
work. Tell me,
you.
hey, there's something I want to discuss. I'm probably going to tell you, let's talk about it now. But if it is a bad time, I might say, I can't, not right now. I don't want to deal with anything heavy. Nothing more.
Okay,
Like,
I'm
nothing
going.
more.
I'm gonna put that one in my
Okay.
back pocket,
that's good.
and I'll work on that.
That's good. And then the last one is avoid bringing up the past. So if you are having a conflict, if you're fighting about X, Y, and Z, don't bring up A, B, and C right now that happened 2 weeks ago or last week. Not that you don't need to address unresolved items, but just if you're fighting, if you're focusing on one thing, then focus on that one thing. That's the point.
Yeah, I agree. I also don't think you should ever bring up past issues as ammunition. It's going to make your person feel like they can't be vulnerable with you. They
Yeah.
can't be honest with you, that they're going to always have something hung over their head. So I really strongly suggest that you take time to work your issues all the way through
Yes.
so that you don't have to continue to bring them up and harp on them. That can be really damaging to a relationship as well.
Okay. Well, those were our 7, 5 plus 2 bonus, our 7 practical tools for fighting fair and coming out stronger. We challenge you to use them in your next fight, and hopefully they benefit you.
If you are listening to the podcast and you're like, okay, these are excellent tools,
Mhm.
I'm going to use these tools, but my partner, like, they're not watching
They're
this
not
podcast with
watching?
me. They're not,
listening?
jotting down notes and getting these
The
tools with
hell?
me. So how am I going to improve us fighting fair
Yeah.
or our communication style if my person is not also using the tools?
Even though you're not, I mean, it would immensely help if both of you were looking at this and going over, hey, we're going to try these 7 tips the next time we get in a fight. But even if it was just you, let's say I wasn't watching Cynic Meets Sunshine and just you were, if you were to do these 7 things, it would help the conflict.
Right.
Even though it's one-sided.
So first of all, I highly suggest that you get your partner in
There you
on the
go.
podcast.
There you go.
And you say,
There you go.
and you communicate at the right time and the right place. And you say, listen, I really think that we can improve our communication
Yes.
and that we can fight better and we can stay connected. I would love if you work these tools with me and we try this together. However, if you have a partner right now who is a little resistant,
Yeah.
I agree with Andre. I think
Get a new
that
partner. I'm just joking.
he's totally joking. I think that you, like he said, you can still be successful using these tools, because if it was just me using this and I'm having an argument with Andre, but I take a minute when he's griping to stop and be curious, what is his concern or his problem right now?
Yeah.
Then I pause before I respond instead of popping back and being defensive.
Yes.
I'm calm. I deployed these tools. It's going to affect the way he responds.
Yes.
And it's going to immediately affect the way he feels heard.
I'm going to notice a difference. I'm like, something's changed. And so it will have an indirect effect for sure.
It will definitely.
For sure.
So even if you have a partner who is not working the tools with you just yet, I bring this up just to say, stay encouraged, because ideally you need 2 people working at this to make it work. But sometimes somebody has to start it off. Somebody has to be the one to get the ball rolling. And hopefully, if that's your situation, you use these tools and your partner starts to get on board and it changes their response towards you. So that kind of wraps up what we wanted to discuss today. Hopefully those tools are helpful. Like I said, I cannot wait to hear from you guys. I want to know if you use them, if they helped, if they didn't help, if you have more suggestions.
Send her a message at
DM me.
Tanisha
Yes.
at cynicmeetsunshine.com.
Or our IG.
Yep.
Cynic
IG.
Meets Sunshine.
Yep.
YouTube.
Wherever.
I mean, we absolutely loved hearing from you guys. And then we'll be back next week. What are we talking about next week?
We're talking about, what are we
Commitment.
talking about? Commitment. We're talking about commitment. Maybe some date night stuff when you and yeah,
Yes.
that's always fun.
I definitely want to touch on that because you had cited in one of our first posts
Uh-huh.
for Cynic Meets Sunshine divorce percentage.
Yes.
And what was the top cited
Yeah,
reason?
commitment, not being committed.
Lack of commitment.
Lack of commitment.
So I think that'll be a really fun one to talk about, and we can give some good
All right,
tips
we'll
there.
get started. Yeah. Love it.
Yes.
Thank you guys for
Bye,
joining.
guys.
Yep. Y'all
See you
have a
next
great
week.
day.